Nothing in this recording is intended as investment advice, and the people in this recording may hold positions in the companies they talk about. Do not make any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm joined by Eddie Wyvill, who is Head of Corporate Development at Amaroq. How are you today, Eddie?
Morning, Zach. How are you?
Very well. In fact, I'm so excited they've actually put this on video rather than just an audio because it's apparently good times for your company at the moment.
Yeah, indeed it is. We're about to pour our first gold bar, so it's sort of the end of a 7-year journey, 8-year journey to get there in Greenland. So it's I think it's going to
So
be a
why? So
moment.
the obvious question is, well, why are you doing that? Because most companies on the London market, they just talk about it. They don't actually. Well, I mean, who would actually produce one? You should just keep saying,
I know it's
we're
ridiculous, isn't
working
it?
on it. Well, this time next year or the year after,
Yeah.
or it's going well, or we've got a pre-feasibility study, or we've got a DFS, or you're actually there now.
Yeah, we're there now. Yeah. I mean, it's imminent. We've said Q4. We're comfortable with saying that. So, we're getting sort of small snippets coming from site at the moment with them sort of testing all the equipment and we put a bloody great big shed up there. We've been mining since May, so we've got sort of ore stockpiled we'll get that moment where we all hope for, which is to lift up that first gold bar. So. It's pretty exciting for us, and we're all a bit tired. I think we're looking forward to quite a big Christmas, actually, to be honest with you, because we've all been traveling a lot. But it's exciting. It's been a hell of a lot of hard work to get here.
And for those who are not familiar with the company that spent the last 7 years trying to produce one gold bar, how many more gold bars could we get?
Quite a few, we hope. I mean, to give it, I don't know if give everyone a little history into it. I think we're redeveloping the Nanolag mine in Greenland, South Greenland. So it was a past historic mine that produced 350,000 ounces and at a very, very good grade, about 15 grams a ton. In the past, it shut down in 2014 due to past operator issues, and obviously we came back in it. There was talk that they'd mined the gold out of the mountain, and then we went back in and we've drilled, over the last 6 years, a huge amount of holes in it. It looks like a sort of shotgun victim, the gold continues. It's high grade. We've got a resource of 320,000 ounces at 28 grams a ton, which is probably one of the highest. Well, probably is the highest resource in the world. So. Where we took a decision over the last 2 years that we were going to trying to get this mine back into production. So we've had a series of fundraisers. We listed on the Icelandic Stock Exchange, which gave us access to capital, which currently London wasn't giving us, but it gave us that capital. So we've pretty much done it via pure equity, which is great. We've got a small debt facility that we may go into at the beginning of ramp up, but we're hoping to get shortly out of that. So the idea is that we've now finished, or we're just finishing phase one of building a 300-ton per day plant. We've gone pretty low on what grade we anticipate. As I say, it did mine at 15 grams a ton. We've gone slightly lower that just to make sure that expectations are there, but we think we'll beat it. And so if you sort of put those rough figures in at today's gold price, if it's anywhere around that sort of grade, and we're running at 300 tons a day, then you were looking to be producing 45 to 50,000 ounces of gold a year. So quite a few gold bars. And obviously being a narrow vein mine, which has its problems, but also has its benefits, because we essentially don't have to mine out much rock to get a lot of gold. And obviously that's where your costs increases really go up if you're having to move a lot of muck around and use a lot more diesel. So because of its high grade, we're hoping that we can get our very low all-in sustaining costs and produce obviously with the gold price, which has been very favorable to us, and with the timing can be better. We're feeling very blessed with that. So hopefully we can get that into steady state. Its first phase is just crushing and grinding, and filtering. So very simple. It's free gold in quartz veins, so you can crush and grind it and get very high recovery. We think around in the 70% just from doing that. And then in the spring we'll add the flotation, which essentially is already costed in. We've already put in all the foundations for that, and then that'll be phase two. And then we'll stake that up to full production using flotation. We hope to get about recovery of about 90 to 95% from that, and that's what the mine has done in the past. So we're very happy with that. So yeah, it's been emotional, and we've done it in phases, and obviously building a mine in South Greenland where you're having to ship everything in, and you're having to bring everybody in, and you're having to move a lot of people around, has been incredibly challenging, but we did it, and we've got everything at site now, so it's a matter of just getting it built, and finished off, and then ramped up, and we're hoping by we've given ourselves a year to get to full steady state. We hope we will beat that, but we're really confident in our team, and it's exciting. And so we're giving ourselves a gentle stroke on the back, not a pat quite yet, but we're feeling like we're getting to the end of it.
Right. So, I mean, there's a couple of points there. You basically described what you've done and where you're going. But I met you a couple of years ago, and you told me about your background. You've been there, you've done that. You've got a few grey hairs, and the team was in the same kind of same kind of stage that you've been there, done that before, and it was like, okay, I took note of that. But everybody says that. Everybody says that they've been there, done that before, but actually, very few people really have. And the market's littered with companies who are would-be or were would-be gold producers. Is there any one thing that made the difference here? Was it the gold grade? Was it the management team? Obviously, the head of corporate development is very sound at your company. But is there any particular thing that sign that, like, for investors going forward, apart from obviously looking at your company, is there anything, because it is quite a serious point. I mean, we've got so many explorers and developers, but they don't get over the line. And this week, there was a notable casualty in the market as well. I mean, is it the high grade? Was it the equity that you were able to raise? Was it one thing, or is it a combination of things? Because I think that is something that people.
It's definitely, in my opinion, it's a combination of things, and we won't talk about the victim this week, because obviously that's such a it's annoying for us and for the market, to lose yet another gold miner, or maybe it's not lost quite yet, but anyway, we'll see. Let's call it that. And having just lost sentiment as well, so the pool of gold mining stocks on the London Stock Exchange getting smaller and smaller. There's a couple of points there that I think are important, and we can talk about. I don't want to press on anybody else's misery, but jurisdiction, I think, is really, really key. And working in Greenland, we're very lucky in the fact that it's a Danish sovereign country. They've got a very good mining code. We're dealing essentially with an EU country. There's very few people there, which has its benefit, and it doesn't have its benefit. So we do employ a lot of local people, but because we're only employing 120 people out there, but finding skill set in mining, there's a few of them that have done it in the past, but not many. But in the same time, we're in such a remote location that we haven't got any NIMBYism as far as on our EIA, SIA, and permitting, which is a huge problem, I think, for a lot of mining companies, particularly in places like Canada now and stuff, where permitting is taking adding another 5, 6, 7 years into the process of bringing a mine into production. And obviously, when you're managing your cash flow, that's a real problem, right? So that was an issue. I think where we were lucky or benefited was that Nalunaq was a past producing mine. And again, looking back at another mining company that didn't have a very good time this year, one thing that we knew was like the rock integrity and the ore body. And the rock we have at Nalunaq is amphibolite. It's extremely strong. There's hardly a rock bolt in place. When we went in and rehabilitated the mine at the beginning of the year, it was as good as it was when it was left in 2014. So when we blast rock, we're taking just the white rock out, the narrow vein. It's sort of average about 70 centimeters wide. You can really be confident in your mining method, and I think that's a big problem. And understand your ore body. And we managed to, we know that the vein goes, it's a very continuous vein. It pinches and swells, of course, and it sometimes splits into two or three, but it's generally roughly we have a pretty good idea where it's going to be. And one thing you never want to be doing is, when you're mining, is particularly losing the vein, right? In the type of mining that we're doing. So, I think that's been a real benefit. We also walked into this project with a hell of a lot of infrastructure already in place from the past predecessor. The 20 kilometers of underground development within that mine that we can use, and we're, rather than having to put all those tunnels in and to get in the rampways and stuff like that, which is obviously a huge amount of money. We're developing out of those old stopes, and so we're not having to put that major part of that infrastructure, and that infrastructure goes all the way up to 750 meters from the mountain. So we've got that's saved us a huge amount of money, and will save us a huge amount of money, hence the fact that we believe that we can get a lower all-in sustaining cost. And we also had a port there. We've obviously done a hell of a lot of upgrades ourselves. So I suppose we're going into a project where we spent 150 million Canadian dollars, or what do we call it, roughly 100 million pounds, on a project that I think it was greenfield, would probably not be happening now because of the permitting, and it would also and it would be costing us at least double of what I think we would be in for. So I think that's where we have an advantage over others, and that may not be the case on the next mine, but it is the case on this mine. And we know what the recovery rates on the gold were. We know how to extract the gold. We know that when you put that through a grinder, what sort of recovery rates you got. And again, on new mines and new ore bodies, you can stick as many drill holes in, but when you actually get into mining it, you can get a nasty surprise, or you can
you weren't flying blind. The flying blind aspect is one that actually people don't talk about.
No, they don't. And again, don't want to mention any names, but we saw one happen, this year, where suddenly, their cost overruns were enormous, right? Because that ore body was they just hadn't, the geology just hadn't worked out for them, and that's tough. So I'd like to reiterate here, and I think this is really important, and I totally understand that the market get pretty pissed off about the whole thing, but I can't stress how difficult this is. I mean, this is fortune favors the brave. I don't know whether we're brave or stupid, quite frankly. I think Elder, our CEO, has been incredibly strong as a leader, but we're all absolutely shattered, and we're spending a hell of a lot of time away from our families and children and to get it done. But I mean, I just wouldn't recommend it to anyone, quite frankly. I
suppose it's the equivalent of you're trying to land on the moon every time successfully without anything going wrong. And
that's exactly it, right? With the forces of nature being thrown at you, left, right, and centre, just when you don't want them to be. So, I mean, and dealing in a remote location like that in Greenland is what you've got in front of you. So, everything that you think could ever potentially go wrong, you have to double prepare for. You have to have 5 times the inventory for, because you can't just pop down to Kmart and pick it up. You can't just get a diesel filter from down the road. you've got to have 40 of them. If you've got to make sure that if you see some bad weather coming in, that you're trying to moving your team out 3 days early and trying to get your miners, they're coming in, 3 days early as well. So you're potentially shortening their holidays or lengthening others. So there's a lot, you've got a whole logistics team. You've got a whole, it's an incredibly, the sequencing is just has to be so precise. And, if you mess it up, it's money. And it's not small money. I mean, when you're producing, which we aim to, 2, 3, 4 gold bars a week, if you guys don't get there for 2, 3 days, then you've got a bit of a problem. So, for example, we look at like stockpiling. So we've always got more ore ready, that if we have a problem like that and we do see the worst, that we've got, at least a certain amount of ore, ready to put in the pile without having us to mine it. And when we've got the benefit of maybe having 2 mining teams there, we maybe get a bit of excess. So, there's all those sort of things that you've got to consider. And as I say, and then everything you've considered, you suddenly want to fly out of the left field and smack you straight in the jobs, and you're like, right, okay, well, we didn't see that one coming, but we will next time. So it's a learning curve as well. But yeah, I think
that's probably the first time in the 35 years I've heard such a sort of a realistic rundown of what you're faced with. Perhaps if people knew how difficult it was, people wouldn't get into it, or they wouldn't invest in this sort of area. So you need everything. Everything needs to be nailed on. It's like being Home Secretary, and there's a train crash, and there's a plane crash, and then there's a this and that, and everything else, which is nothing.
Agreed. But the flip side is, Zach, that if you do get it right, I mean, you've got the potential to make an incredible amount of money. I mean, particularly at today's gold price, if you could say, knocking 50,000 ounces out at an all-in sustaining cost of, say, $1,000 an ounce, you're making a hell of a lot of free cash flow. And in our industry, you're looking at valuations which are low single digits, and whereas you look at other companies who've got multiples of 20, 30, and they'll never even see the free cash flow that we do. So that's the reward, and we believe it's worth fighting for. So and we hope that we're not going to let anyone down, and again in itself a big pressure for us. I mean, we're all invested, so as are all of our family, friends, and the rest of it. So I don't want to be running off to Brazil, doing the walk of shame. So you do feel that on your shoulders as well a little bit, right? So and again, I think this mine as well for us is it's a bit of a showcase for us in Greenland. We believe that Greenland, particularly where we are in South Greenland, has got the most incredible exploration upside, and we know it has. I mean, we're finding some incredibly good, particularly high grade veins of the type that Nanolac, and we drilled 5 different targets this year. So I think we're probably the busiest explorer in Europe right now, this year. So, we've become really good at as well, because we know how to do it. And I suppose if I put it like this, so say I was a guy just wanted to get a license in Greenland and drill a few holes and start the thing, the cost would be, probably in your thousands of dollars a meter by the time you've got your tents and staff and support and drill rig and drillers and stuff out there. And we own our own drill rigs now. We actually do still contract our drill teams, because obviously we only drill over the summer period, so it's not worth having them for all year round. But we get them in, and we order them in bulk, and they come in, and we can do thousands of meters now, and in a campaign in record time. And we got through what we thought was going to be a full season, and we were way ahead of time, schedule and cost this year, and so we managed to drill 2 more, of our targets. So, that's one thing I think, which is the other side of our business. We've become really good at, and we're really proud of that. And we've got probably one of the largest geological teams. We're uncovering an entire region. We've discovered the first ever copper porphyry last year, albeit low grade, but it looks like a big working system. So we're sort of trying to define a copper belt. There's multiple gold assets there. We're very excited about Nanoq particularly, which was an old discovery by Goldcorp, which we've gone back into. We managed to put a few holes into that. It's a sort of large vein system. And so, we've got a really busy exploration schedule of results coming up. I think we're all slightly on the edge of our seats of what we're going to find. There'll be some losers. Everything's not going to be a winner. But we hope in there, if we can just find maybe one or two good world-class deposits, we think that we're here in Greenland to elephant hunt, really. I know it's a politically incorrect thing to say probably nowadays. But
not real elephants is fine, apparently.
Yeah.
But anyway, Eddie, great to catch up, and especially after a couple of years, and see that you're on the verge of we already are at glory.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll send out some pictures of some of the elephants that you've
We definitely will. Well, keep an eye. We've got quite an active social media on X and LinkedIn and stuff. So we try to put as much on that as possible as we can do without getting told off.
All right. Thanks, Eddie. Speak soon.
All right. Good to see you back. Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.